Hi, my name is Chris Albertson, and I'm going to go over some real simple switch port settings on a layer 2 switch today. And it's going to be some very, very basic stuff. Um, Basically, what we want to do today is I'm going to show you how to tell which module, how to access a module on a switch, how to identify which module is identified by which number. And then once we do that, I'm going to show you how to directly get to that interface to make any configuration changes, or to use the interface range command, or to configure and use a interface range macro. And then once we do that, we'll go over how to turn a port on and off with the shut and no shut commands, how to set a port description, how to set the port's duplex and speed, and then lastly we'll follow up with some errdisable options. Um, Basically, how to see what errdisable options are configured on your switch, how to change those errdisable options, and then how to view the stats on the interface to verify various things, like look at the counters, verify the duplex and speed, look at the MAC address, look at the error status. We can also see the interface IP address also if one is configured. Typically, a switch port interface would not have a IP address assigned to it because um, that's a layer 3 boundary, an IP address. But on layer 3 switches, it's possible to set an IP address on an interface. And what we're looking at here on the screen is I have a 2950, and we're just going to go over the things that I mentioned here on this 2950. What we're seeing here is I have errors or console logging enabled. I'll disable that here in a moment, but I just wanted to show you how to do that. And basically, we're at um, the user mode. I'm going to assume that you already know how to change between user, privilege, exec mode, and configuration mode. But as you can see, this is the user mode. And if I wanted to get to privilege exec mode, I would just simply type enable, and now I'm in privilege exec mode, which is the pound sign right here. Um, let's take a look at what interfaces we have on this device. Basically, those are the fast Ethernet interfaces we have on here. As I had mentioned, module numbers, I wanted to go over that with you. Here we see that we have 24 interfaces available to us, one VLAN interface, which is a default, which we'll go over in a later video. But this first number is the module. This second number is the interface. For a switch like a 2950 that does not have any ability to plug in any modules, all the interfaces are going to be 0, and those are the interfaces that are in the chassis. Now, if we have the ability to plug in modules, like this example here, here's an example of a 3925. It has the ability to plug in 4 modules into this device. If we were to have a module plugged in here, that would be, let's say we had a 24 port module plugged into this spot right here, and it was a fast Ethernet. Just like we had gone to, as seen on the other interface, it was FA01. If we wanted to get to the first interface on this module, it would be FA1/1. And this would be FA2/1 and FA3/1 and 4. So the first number is the module number and then the interface. So we go back here, module 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the interface. Now, if this was also a stackable switch, let's say this is the first switch in a stack, and we have another switch underneath it, and we wanted to, and those two switches acted as one switch, which is possible, we would say switch 1 or switch 2, module 1, and then interface 1. So it could be FA1 and then module 1 and then interface 1, if that's Hopefully that's clear. So in that case, the first number out of the three would be switch, second number would be module, and the third number would be interface. So what we want to do now is show you how to directly configure a interface. And we can do that. We're back here on our switch. We'd go to config terminal. And then I would type in the interface I want to configure. Let's go ahead and configure fast Ethernet 01. Now, one thing you'll notice that you can abbreviate a lot of commands because some people put config T, some people use conf T. You can put interface fast Ethernet 01, or you can use int fa01, which would be the exact same result. But I usually like to use the whole command to get used to it, because when you take some certification exams with Cisco, they don't allow you to use abbreviations. So it's best to use the whole command until you're comfortable with it, and then you can abbreviate. So if you run into a certification that doesn't allow you to abbreviate, you're not totally just lost. So now we're in configuration interface mode, and we're going to configure, or actually we could configure from here, fast Ethernet 01. And that's a way to directly get to this interface. And currently this interface is up. Now, if I wanted to configure a range of interfaces or access a range of interfaces for configuration, I can do that with the interface range command. It would be interface range, and then fast Ethernet 01 through, let's say, 10. Now in this case, I'm in configuration interface range mode, and any changes that I make will be applied to interface FA01 through FA010. If I wanted to, I would say, configure all of the odd interfaces from 1 to 9, I can set up a range, or use a configuration interface range for that too. Interface range FA0/1, FA0/3, FA0/5, FA0/7, FA0/9. Now that's given me the ability to configure all of those interfaces and only those interfaces. Now, as you can tell, having to type that in over and over again if you're going to do a lot of configurations on a regular basis could be quite tedious. So you can define a macro, and we'll do that here. Define interface range, and we're going to name the macro, and this is case sensitive, so we're going to name it odd. And this macro is going to be FA0/1, FA0/3, FA0/5, FA0/7, FA0/9. And oops, yeah, it likes to have spaces on each side of the commas there. And now that interface macro is defined. And this interface macro is saved in your running configuration. If we look at our running configuration, see right here is an example of a console logging message. And if you don't like to see these console logging messages, you can go no logging. Actually, you have to do that from configuration mode. No logging console. So basically all those logs are now turned off, and they go straight to the log, and they don't get mirrored on the console, so we don't have to see that. So let's go back to show run, and we'll see our macro in here. And our macro is right here. Define interface range odd, and is these interfaces. Now, if anytime we want to make changes to those interfaces, we can use this macro, which we will do now. Let's go ahead and change the description of all of those interfaces to odd. So we would go interface, range, macro, and this is case sensitive, so I'll do lowercase just to show you. Odd. Okay, so it says macro odd is not defined. Let's go ahead and make this uppercase. Now we're configuring that range of interfaces, and we're going to set the description for all these interfaces to odd. And let's go ahead and shut these interfaces down. Basically, shut turns off the interface. If we wanted to turn it back on, no shut would turn that interface back on. Now we see those interface descriptions are now odd, and those interfaces that we shut down are all admin down now. Actually, interface 2 is previously admin down, but yeah, all those are admin down now. Now, if I wanted to turn them back on, config T, interface, range, macro, odd, no shut. And now we see that they're all on, except for 2, which I had turned off already. So as I'm sure you can see, using a macro here could be very useful if you had a random set, a seemingly random set of interfaces that you had to shut down and no shutdown or something on a regular basis. You know, you could type in that macro that you defined here, or you know, you could go and type this mess in again and over every time you did it, which really I would make the macro. I think it would be much easier. So now, as we had said previously, we were going to talk about no shut and shut, which we did, it's in the description, and then we're going to show you how to set the duplex and speed of an interface. Now, the reason you might set the duplex and speed manually is because you have a legacy device on your network that can't auto-negotiate duplex and speed. That's not very common anymore, and setting the duplex and speed could actually cause issues on your network if it's not set properly. So again, we would go to configuration terminal from privilege exec mode, and then we could go to the interface we wanted to mess with. Let's go to interface FA02, and we could set the duplex, and we'll look at the options we have. Spell it right. Duplex. Question mark will give you the options that could follow after that command. And typically, if you are at the end of your options, let's say the CR there means a carriage return. So what that means is basically you have the command completed. You can hit the enter key to enter your command. Now from here, oops, see, we did not have a CR in our list of options, and we didn't pick anything. We went to duplex and hit enter, and we got the incomplete command because we have to do duplex in one of these 3 options. Now, an interface is on a switch is by default set to auto negotiate the duplex to the connection. But like I said, if you have some reason to set the duplex to half or full to force it to that, you can do so with this command. And that would force the interface to be in either full duplex or half duplex, basically rendering the auto negotiation ability of the interface useless. Or not useless, but just basically turning it off. So let's go duplex full. If I were to show run interface, fast Ethernet 0, 2, which was the one we were just on, I would see that now I have duplex set to full. Now, if I wanted to change that back to auto negotiate, I can do a no duplex full or a duplex auto. Now we see that duplex full option is gone because we are auto negotiating. Now I can do the same thing with speed. And again, let me show you. We didn't have a carriage return here as an option, so I put speed with no follow-up switches there, options, and it came back with an incomplete command. So I have to use 10, 100, or auto. This is just a fast Ethernet switch, so 100 megabits is the fastest speed, but if you had a gigabit switch, you would have to actually have 1,000 option in here also. So if I was to set the speed to 10, now I can see the speed is set to 10. Now let's go ahead and put that back to auto negotiate. And I can do that with no speed 10 or speed auto. Now what we're going to do next is go over the the error disable options for a switch. Originally, Cisco had created the error disable feature to handle specialized collision situations, like excessive collisions or late collisions. Basically, late collisions were caused by the media, basically a layer 1 cabling being outside of specifications, like being too long or damaged or having duplex mismatches on the interface or on the cabling interfaces. So that was the first introduction of error disable detection by Cisco. Later on, they added more options to detect for, and we can see that when we go to our switch here, and let's go ahead and do a show error disable detect. Well, this is going to show us all the types of error disable detection that our switch is currently detecting for. You can look at basically all of these on my website for some descriptions. I'm not going to go over each one here, but by default, a switch automatically detects for all possible errors. And if we wanted to change any of this error detection, let's say we wanted to disable any of that particular, any of those options there, that wouldn't be possible for all options. But if we go to config mode, now one thing you remember, like I said, all error options are on. You see they're all enabled right here. So we're going to have to use the no command to turn any of these off. So if we ever go to, we'd have to go no error disable detect cause. And if we do the question mark here, we will see that these are the only options that we can turn off. And if we were to pick all, it would only turn all of these off. So let's go ahead and turn off a loopback. Cause loopback. And now we see loopback is disabled. And in order to re-enable loopback, okay, config terminal. We're going to do not the no option this time, but we're going to go err disable, detect, cause, loop back. And now we see that it is re-enabled. And as you can see that if you wanted to disable all of these except for loopback, it would be easy to go no err disable detect cause all, and then err disable cause loopback, and that would disable all these and in turn loopback back on. Okay. Now, typically a port will shut an interface down when one of these air conditions occurs, which would cause you to have to go to the switch or log into the switch somehow, correct the condition that caused the error disable, and then manually put the port down by doing a shut and then a no shut, and that would clear the condition. Or you can configure this to happen automatically. And we'll show you how to do that. Go back to configuration terminal, and we're going to go err disable, recovery, cause. Now what we can do here is we can cause our switch to auto recover from any of these conditions. So let's say if you want to cause it to auto recovery from every possible condition there, you can pick all, or you can pick BPDU guard or whatever. So let's, in this case, let's pick loopback. Now, we also want to tell it how often to do this recovery. So we have the interval option we can use. And from here, we can tell it we want to do this every 30 seconds or every day. So this is 86,400 seconds is 24 hours, and then that's 30 seconds. You know, to have a switch continuously trying to connect an error or correct an error every 30 seconds may not be feasible if you don't realize that there's a problem right away. It would cause the switch to keep trying this over and over again. But I think a day would be a little bit extreme. So we're going to go 30 seconds here. I'm trying to remember. I think to see that period of time, we can go show err disable recovery. And it shows us here that we are automatically recovering from loopback conditions only, and we're going to do that every 30 seconds. Now this is the time here is global, so this time applies to everything. So if you wanted to auto recover from BPDU guard conditions every 30 seconds and loopbacks every 60 seconds, that wouldn't be possible. They all have to be done at the same interval. Now let's go ahead and look at an interface real quick. Now this is a layer 2 interface, and I'll show you how to tell that here in a little bit, but it's the layer 2 switchboard interface, and we see that it is up and line protocol is up. Now this first up is saying us that we have layer 1 connectivity. Basically we have a cable plugged in and we know that there is voltage on that cable. Now the line protocol, that's the layer 2. So we know we have layer 1 connectivity and layer 2 connectivity. And this is the MAC address to this particular port, the MTU size, the reliability of the connection. Now this 255 over 255, that is the best reliability. If we have less reliability, you know, we'd have like 50 over 255. Now this is the load, transmit and receive loads, which basically there's hardly anything going across this interface. And we have the full duplex, which was auto-negotiated, the speed, which was auto-negotiated, the type of cabling, which is Cat5 twisted pair, and then we have the stats for the last 5 minutes and the totals. Now let's go ahead and switch to another switch that I have in production. And we'll look at the stats on FA01 here. Now this also is up and up. Now this particular interface has an IP address. It's a layer 3 interface. And we can see that it had some traffic going. It's not a lot. I don't have a lot of traffic going over this interface right now. And we can see that the total number of packets that were output. And the last time that these counters were cleared is right here, which I've never cleared these counters since this router has been up. Now I have another interface on here that's currently error disabled. Well, it will be error disabled here in a moment. Just one. So my previous error disabled condition had cleared itself, so I went ahead and made a new error condition. And I have an error disabled port FA02 right now. We see that with the show interface status command. And if I wanted to look at just that interface, a show interface status, and then I can look at error disable, and this will show me all the error disabled interfaces. And we're error disabled because we have a BPDU guard condition, and we'll go over that later in our spanning tree video, but that's how I can tell that this port is error disabled. And I can also do that by showing interface FA02, and up here at the top it says that we are error disabled. And in this case, the router has automatically shut down this port because of this condition. And I can also see this if I was to do a show log. At the end of my log here, I would see that we had a spanning tree error disable condition here. Before we had been disabled and we recovered, but now we're currently disabled. So I think that brings us to the end of our video. So if you have any questions, you can again see me at my website there. You can put comments there, or you can post them on the YouTube page where this video is at. But if you post them here, I'll see them a lot quicker. All right, and hope you enjoyed the video. All right, bye-bye.